Thank you. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me because I can barely hear myself. My ears are So firstly, depending on how this goes, I want to thank Gareth and Zahi and Liliana for asking me to be here today and being involved in this. I want to thank the staff of the Parole Board for inviting me because I saw the emails pinging around and I know how much effort's gone into arranging this today. And finally, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here. In the not too distant past, I appeared in front of a mix of 2 and 3 member parole boards. And I have to say, I found that quite challenging. So to appear in front of 300 or 400 is equally. Here we are. The other thing is that I, on average, had a dossier of about 100 pages, and mercifully, I've got to tell you, I'm not carrying that many pages in my speech today, so you'll be comforted, I hope, by that. But more seriously, I must tell you that I agonised about what to wear to come here today, because I can remember going to a parole hearing dressed not too dissimilarly to where I am now. And it was suggested that it was an attempt to be slightly manipulative. It wasn't, and neither is being here today. Although, I will confess that I wouldn't mind having my licence terminated if anyone could help me. The motivational speaker, Les Brown, I think, said it best when he said, "Dress like a prospect, not like a suspect." So I hope that I've done the So why am I here? Well, I'm Andrew Morris, as you know, and most recently I founded something called the New Wave Trust, which is primarily about mentoring, thinking about new ways to do things in the criminal justice system. And on that note, I am really grateful to have Furza Amino Sangha-Ray here, one of the trustees of the New Wave Trust. Thank you for being here. Following a period of remand during the summer of 2007, I was handed an indeterminate sentence of 1 year, 254 days. It took me about 3 years to get my head around what IPP meant for me, the ramifications and all that kind of stuff. I had absolutely no idea about offending behaviour courses, the volume of them, how they worked, when I would be able to do the courses that was prescribed to me, the consequences of not doing the course before a parole hearing. And although it wasn't deemed to be an offending behaviour course, I recall kind of fondly in a way a prison officer saying to me I was required to complete a course called money management. And I replied, "I earn £15 a week, I have no money." I had no clue about the mechanics of the parole process until I virtually took up residence in the prison library. When other prisoners told me about open prison, I thought they were winding me up. Eventually I realised open prison was in fact a real thing, and that to get there, or better yet, to get home to my loved ones, I would have to traverse through an obstacle course, tackling things like my own overthinking, unconscious and conscious bias, as well as a range of other things. My first parole hearing was due to take place in 2009. It actually took place in 2012, and I appeared in front of a 3-member panel which directed my move to open conditions. I was released in late 2013, following a 3-month adjournment to investigate something that was later expunged from my record. But I found myself recalled to custody relatively quickly. I put myself in a situation which led me to make the hesitant decision to call the police, and then found myself being arrested and subsequently taken back to prison. No charges were laid, and a witness gave supporting evidence that supported my account of things, but sadly I wasn't believed. Following the recall, I was told about something called a recall pack. I was told that the pack would explain the reasons for the recall and the next steps, but the pack never materialised. I then had great difficulty seeing my solicitors who struggled to get access to the prison until the day of the hearing itself. That hearing was a 2-member panel with a retired judge who I felt was fair and possibly even minded to direct re-release, although this, I assume, was largely impacted by the fact that on the day of the hearing, both offender manager and offender supervisor, as they were known then, withdrew their recommendations. And of course I was mortified, because nothing had changed to warrant that in my mind. The panel accepted the recommendations that were made on the day, and I was sent to open conditions once more, arriving at HMP Spring Hill in 2014, where I was given the job of induction orderly, showing people around, helping them to understand and observe the rules of the prison, helping with form filling, that kind of thing. While at Spring Hill as the induction orderly, I inducted 336 people. And you may wonder why I remember that number. All I can tell you is I had time in my hands. Between 2007 and 2019, I sat a total of 6 hearings, lasting approximately 18 hours. One hearing alone lasted 6. I recognise that parole hearings are quasi-judicial, if I can say the word, and are not something that I would be looking to give a Google review to, although during that hearing, which was to be my penultimate, I didn't have the best experience. I remember having a vague memory of reading somewhere that I could have a family member or someone come to the hearing with me. So I asked my aunt, and I asked her recently to recount her, if I can say the word, and are not something that I would be looking to give a Google review to, although during that hearing, which was to be my penultimate, I didn't have the best experience. I remember having a vague memory of reading somewhere that I could have a family member or someone come to the hearing with me. So I asked my aunt, and I asked her recently to recount her memories of how she felt that the hearing went. She reminded me that she was asked to dress in a particular way and was mortified when she arrived and saw that a parole board member was dressed in exactly the way that she was told not to. Our shared experience was that when asked how my aunt and I were related, we were troubled by that because when you factor in that she was white, we wondered whether she would have been asked the same question if she were black. My aunt, who was keen to take notes during the hearing without causing disruption, was forbidden from doing so. I should also mark the fact that at the hearing I had more recommendations from professionals for release than at any juncture during my sentence. 2 independent psychologists, a prison psychologist, offender manager, offender supervisor, 2 senior probation officers, and an ex-police officer who at the time was volunteering in the prison. However, I was sent back to open prison, even though the psychologist at that time thought that my risk and release management plan was not only realistic, but one of the best that they had seen. I received somewhere in the region of 34 security intelligence reports, none of which were ever substantiated. And for good reason, they weren't true. Some of the security intelligence that was submitted included attending an AA meeting, someone calling the prison to arrange a visit but not having sight of my prison number at the time, only being motivated to be released from prison. I swear to you, telling a member of staff that I was concerned for another prisoner, who then took his life less than a fortnight after I'd spoken to them about my concerns. Having said all that, I'm not here to tell you how wonderful I am, or that my case is the worst affront to justice since Magna Carta was signed in 1215. Although I am here to share my experience, and to say that I do feel that my treatment at times was a little bit harsh. Once upon a time, if you gave me 5 pieces of feedback, 4 positive and 1 negative, guess what I focus on? Today I'm here not to share just the pain, but also the joy. Since my release in 2019, with the help and support of organisations like the Royal British Legion, Care After Combat, Family Friends Solicitors, and a range of other people, I've spent nearly 4 years employed as a Prison and Probation Ombudsman under the auspices of the Ministry of Justice. I was embraced by the likes of Sue McAllister and colleagues like Martin Jones, who we heard from earlier on. I've since moved on from the Ministry of Justice and again secured meaningful, gainful employment. Set up the New Wave Trust, been appointed to the boards of a national and an international charity, provided and given advice and guidance to individuals still in custody and some of them concerned with the criminal justice system more widely, and undertaken speaking engagements. I'm not saying, and I am, let me get my words out. I'm not saying that I am, but I love the saying that you don't have to be great to get started, but you must get started to be great. And as a good friend of mine always says to me, start by starting and do by doing. I hope that we can work together to make changes that are so badly needed for the progression of those serving IPP and the wider criminal justice system. And just to be a little bit Shakespearean on you, I entreat you to do what you do, but to do it fairly, thoroughly, transparently, and with positive engagement. I don't doubt that you do, but I just want to reinforce that. Please support access to meaningful opportunities. Encourage prisoners to have a family member, a sponsor, a mentor, a friend to attend their hearings to support them. I don't want to get into the politics too much, but when I think about IPP, I feel like we need to slow down to speed up. Please don't make assumptions. I wish that all of those who remain on IPP could be in one place as far as practicable, and a concerted effort could be made to mitigate risk and send them home whenever it's safe to do so. And so as I come to an end, I just want to tell you about something I was told quite recently. This person told me that they had been a victim of someone who was sentenced to an IPP. They went on to tell me that they bumped into this individual a long time after the offence. They apparently spoke to each other, and she believed that he'd been released years prior. So my question is, who are we protecting? Another man contacted me recently, and he said to me, Andy, do you know what I've got? And I said, what? He said, I've got a new flat. I said, congratulations, welcome home. He said to me, do you know what's in it? And I said, no. He said, nothing, because I fear recall.
Wow.
Success has many parents, but failure is an orphan. We must acknowledge that IPP did not work the way that it was intended. We must also accept that some prisoners' mental health has been significantly damaged. But if you, parole board, are willing to foster lived experience, we can right this wrong and continue to keep the public safe. Now, I don't want to be the guy that keeps you from lunch, so I just want to thank you for allowing me in this space. Thank you for hearing me today. Thank you for your kind attention. If you have any questions, observations, feedback, critique, I'll be glad to talk to you at lunch. Thank you.